My dad cut me off completely, but his reaction to my success broke him. I grew up believing my father was a man carved out of stone, sharp, unbreakable, impossible to read. He wasn't cruel, but he carried a heaviness that made love feel like a privilege you had to earn. My mother always told me, "Your father loves you. He just shows it differently." But as I got older, those words fell flat. His silence felt intentional. His discipline felt like distance. And his expectations felt like a cage. The breaking point came when I turned 18. I told him I wanted to pursue business, start something of my own, build a life on my terms. He looked at me with a mix of disappointment and disgust, and said the words that would echo in my head for years. "If you walk out that door and chase this nonsense, don't expect anything from me again. Not money, not support, not a family." I left. For months, his silence cut deeper than any insult. He didn't answer my calls, blocked me on every platform, and even told my relatives not to encourage my stupidity. I moved into a single-room apartment with peeling paint, a fan that rattled like it had survived 3 wars, and a landlord who counted seconds when rent was due. Every day felt like wading through mud, dragging the weight of my father's disappointment behind me. But the thing about being pushed away is that you're forced to learn how to stand alone, shaky, but determined. I took odd jobs: cashier, delivery rider, evening cleaner at a small office. And at night, while the city dimmed, I spent hours teaching myself everything I needed to start a business: marketing, sales, branding, product sourcing, customer psychology. My laptop was secondhand, missing 2 keys. My sleep schedule was a disaster. My bank account barely survived. But my hope stayed alive like a stubborn flame. By the time I launched my small online store, I had exactly $47.16 in my account. I remember staring at that number thinking, if this fails, I fail. My first week, I got 1 order from my mother, using her friend's account so my dad wouldn't find out. It made me laugh and cry at the same time. The business grew slowly, painfully. For every 10 customers who ignored my ads, 1 would stay. But I cherished that 1. I treated every order like gold, packed every product with care, wrote handwritten thank you notes like I was a giant company pretending to be personal. And then came the day everything changed. One of my customers, an influencer with a mid-sized following, posted a video raving about my product. Within 48 hours, I had 600 orders. My tiny apartment looked like a warehouse hit by a tornado, but I didn't care. I worked non-stop, sleepless, sweaty, overwhelmed, but incredibly happy. I upgraded my packaging, invested in better stock, hired 2 part-time helpers, and eventually rented a small office space. That year, my revenue crossed 6 figures. The year after that, I hit 7. My father never knew, or so I thought. During those years, my mother visited secretly, carrying food like a spy in a family drama. She told me nothing about my father, not his words, not his emotions, not even whether he mentioned me. It was like we lived in parallel worlds, only connected through a woman who loved us both too much to give up. Then, one evening, I received a call from an unknown number. When I answered, the last voice I expected was the one that came next. "Is this your company?" He didn't say my name. He said your company. I froze. My father's voice sounded different, older, thinner, cracked at the edges. "Yes," I finally said. There was silence, the kind that makes your heartbeat feel too loud. Then he whispered, "I saw an article. They said the founder built his empire alone. No help, no father." His voice trembled on the last word. He continued, "They're calling you a young business icon. They said your vision is impressive. They said your story is inspiring. Everywhere I look, I see your name. My colleagues are talking about you. Our neighbors are talking about you." A shaky breath, and I didn't even know my own son had become a man worth talking about. For the first time in my life, my father sounded small, not strong, not stone, not invincible, just human. "I'm proud of you," he said, "more than you can imagine. But I know I don't deserve to say that." I felt my chest tighten. He had never said those words to me, not once. As a child, I chased his approval like sunlight. And now, when I finally found it, I didn't know what to do with it. We met a week later. I went to the house I had once called home. He stood at the entrance wearing the same expression he always had, stiff, controlled, but his eyes betrayed him. They were full of regret and something softer, almost fragile. He tried to speak, but stopped. His hands shook as he reached for me, then pulled back, like he didn't know if he had the right. I wasn't a good father, he said quietly. I thought tough love would make you strong. I thought denying you help would force you to succeed. But all I did was push you away. I broke you and you still rose. I should have been your biggest supporter, not your biggest obstacle. For the first time since I had left, I saw him cry. Tears rolled down his cheeks in slow, painful lines, as if they had been waiting years to fall. His reaction to my success didn't fill me with pride, it broke something inside me. Because suddenly, I didn't see the man who cut me off. I saw the man who didn't know how to love. The man who was raised with silence and hardened by it. The man who repeated an old cycle without understanding the damage it caused. I stepped forward and hugged him. He stiffened at first, surprised, maybe even unprepared, but then he held me with the urgency of someone trying to fix years of damage in a single moment. I'm not angry anymore, I said. I just wanted you to see me. That's all I ever wanted. He nodded, swallowing back the sadness. I see you now, and I'm sorry it took me so long. The following months were strange but healing. We rebuilt our relationship slowly, cautiously. He came to visit my office, shook hands with my employees, and looked around with admiration he tried to hide but failed miserably. He introduced me to his colleagues proudly. This is my son. He built this from nothing. But the moment that truly changed everything happened on the day I bought my mother a new house. I wanted her to live comfortably, away from years of stress and tension. My father stood in the empty living room, staring at the high ceilings, the polished floors, the view. His eyes glistened again. You did this, he whispered, for your mother, for your future, for yourself. Then he said something I never expected. I was wrong to cut you off. I didn't break you. You broke the chains I put on you. And that's why you're stronger than I ever was. In that moment, he didn't look like the father who had once shut the door behind me. He looked like a man humbled by the success of the son he underestimated. We sat on the stairs of the new house, talking for hours about life, about mistakes, about second chances. And for the first time, it didn't feel like father and son. It felt like two men finally understanding each other. Years later, our relationship isn't perfect, but it's real. It's warm. It's alive. And sometimes when we sit together quietly, he'll look at me with a softness I never saw in my childhood and say, I'm glad you didn't listen to me. Which in his language means, I love you. I'm proud of you. And I will never let you go again. In the end, success didn't just prove my strength, it became the bridge that reconnected two people who had spent years standing on opposite sides of silence. My father's reaction, his tears, and the weight of his regret opened a truth I never expected to witness. Even the toughest hearts break when faced with the consequences of their own choices. Forgiveness wasn't easy, but it was freeing. As we slowly rebuilt our relationship, I realized that sometimes life doesn't give you the father you wanted, gives you the father you must learn to understand. And in that understanding, healing begins. Today, our bond isn't perfect, but it's honest. We speak more, share more, and quietly cherish every moment we almost lost.